Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today we have episode 29 of Real Talk for Lightworkers, which is you don't have to push your light working onto them. Now, if you haven't already done so, please go watch episode 28, where we talked about why you are not the cause of their pain, you are just not denying it with them. So in that video, essentially all that we covered was that as a light worker, you are going to be exposing people's shadows, people's traumas, people's rejected and denied realities, and therefore rejected and denied aspects of self, and that is going to be painful for them when they look at these aspects of self that are already in pain, and they may oftentimes feel like you are causing them pain because before you showed up they were doing a pretty good job of ignoring the pain that they were in. All right? And then you not aligning and not denying it with them, not aligning with the reality, you simply not living the way that they're living, you not drinking, you not smoking, you not eating the way that they eat, you demonstrate another way, which pokes holes in the concept that the only solution they have to avoid their pain is to deny it and to live in this kind of numbed out, drugged culture that keeps us completely distracted from our pain so that we never integrate it. And remembering too that the whole reason why people do that is because they do not believe that healing and integration is possible. They really truly believe that to look at their pain is to be in pain forever. And so distraction and numbing it out and pretending like they're a victim and believing they have no power over it, it feels more empowering in the moment because they do not believe that integration is possible. And then you living the way that you live, you demonstrating that you also went through pain and you don't live like that anymore and you don't need coping mechanisms and you don't need to numb it out, pokes a hole in that theory, but they still don't have the grounds to fully understand that healing is possible. So really all they're perceiving is that you took away the coping mechanism. And you took away the thing, the Band-Aid, the one thing that they have that makes them feel better, and that's horrifying. And they don't want to think that. They don't want to believe that because they're not seeing that you took it away and then healed and integrated and then don't have that pain anymore. That's not on the radar. They still think the pain is going to exist and I just won't have the thing that makes it feel better. You see? So that is the real reason they project everything onto you. They don't want to believe that you could live without the thing they have, or that you could be not in the victim mentality, or any of those things. They don't want to look at that pain because they genuinely do not believe that healing is possible. So that is the big root cause of all of this pain and suffering that we have on the planet, right? That we just don't believe healing is possible. Now, as a light worker, you are the opposite of that. You fully believe that healing is possible. You have healed in yourself. You have seen it in yourself. You have this internal knowing that we don't have to suffer this way. And that may be kind of just intrinsic to who you've always been. You may look back on your life and say, I never lived the way everyone else did. I tried to numb myself out and it didn't work. I tried to go the coping mechanism route and it just never worked for me, and I always had this belief that I could transcend it, that I could integrate it, that I could heal, that I could live in a way that would make it so that life wasn't so painful, and you truly believed that. And so like I say, you may have had that just forever, or you may have developed that as you've gone along, and now you may have some experience with seeing that, yeah, that pain that I used to have, I've done some things that made it so that I don't have that pain anymore. I don't suffer like that anymore. I've taken responsibility for myself. I've owned myself. I've integrated my painful experiences. I have some wisdom and some knowledge that says, some experience that says, that pain is not permanent, that I don't have to suffer like that. And you are now spreading that everywhere. Okay? So part of what I wanted to talk about today is that we need to look at, as light workers, the idea that we collectively, as light workers, have a mirror image shadow to the average person. Okay? So like we talked about in the last video, we all go through pain. We all go through painful experiences that we reject and therefore create shadow within us. That is, if you're a light worker or not a light worker, it doesn't really matter. Everybody has that. We all have painful experiences that we have not integrated. Otherwise, we would not have trauma. We would not have triggers. We would not have anything in us that makes us look at the reality and say, that's wrong and bad and that shouldn't be happening, and where we panic and push it away fight or flee, right? You can admit that within yourself, when you feel the shadow of someone else, when you feel the pain of someone else, when you feel the suffering of someone else, you cannot be okay in that. That is the main trigger of the light worker. So the average population is saying, I had this painful thing happen to me and I want to ignore it. I want to throw it away, I want to flush it away, I want to numb it out, I just don't want to look at it. Anything that I can do to not look at it is exactly what I want to do. The light worker has the mirror image of that exact same trigger, which is shadow is dangerous and bad, and we need to look at it, we need to expose it to the light, we have to bring it to the surface, we need to fix it, because to let it be in the shadow, that's what causes me pain. You see how this is the mirror image? So the average person is saying, looking at the shadow is what causes me pain, right? Because healing is not possible, I can't actually get over it, so the only option I have is to ignore it and deny it. The light worker says, all denied pain, all denied shadow, everything that's in the dark right now is what is causing me pain. And so we have to expose it. If we don't expose it, then I'm going to be in pain. And so you see, we have this big conflict between the average person and the light worker, which causes both of us to be in shadow ping pong, to be in trigger ping pong. You see? The person doesn't want to awaken to it because that means pain to them, but not awakening to it means pain to you, and so you're in this battle of, we have to expose it. No, we can't. Yes, we have to. No, we can't. Yes, we have to. No, we can't. And everybody's feeling triggered. Everybody's feeling hurt. Everybody's feeling scared. Everybody is in a state of fight and flight at that point. You see what I'm saying? So if we look at the world right now, at most light workers, and I don't think this is all, I do believe that there are people who have integrated this, and this is what we're going to talk about as we go along. But most light workers are demonstrating either a very aggressive light working path. They feel like they have this mission and they have to get it done, and they are very aggressive in their knowledge and their wisdom, and anyone who is in shadow around them, they push and 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 they push this you have to wake up thing, right, onto everyone. Or we see this flip side, the flight version of this fear in the light worker, which is just, I'm going to abdicate myself, I'm going to take myself out of society, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to be in it, I'm just going to run from it, everyone else is just stupid, everyone else is retarded, I'm going to separate myself, and I just don't want to have anything to do with it, right? And if we really truly look at that, these two things, I'm going to fix the planet, I'm going to heal everybody, I'm going to expose the shadow, I'm on a mission, I'm going to do it, I'm a light worker, blah, 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 rah, 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 look at all these things that I know, and if you resist me, you're just staying in your shadow and you're stupid, right? Or, fuck it, I'm not doing this, it's too hard, it's too scary, I don't want to participate, I don't want to get caught in the crossfire, I don't want to deal with people's shadows, I'm just going to take myself out, right? These are the two things, that's fight and flight. That is not a place of love. So, what this is telling us is that as light workers, yeah, we have a shadow that we need to heal. And this is something that I am even still completely, 100% being totally honest and open here, I have not integrated the shadow in myself, all right? I am not at a place where I am totally and completely okay with being in the room with someone's shadow and them not wanting to expose it, and me saying, cool, I can be fine, all right? I still get triggered. And so what I'm going to offer you in this video is simply the tools that I am using right now to help myself integrate this shadow. Because what I believe we are going to go to as light workers is this new place where we're not fighting the shadow or fleeing the shadow, where we can be the light workers that we are, still do the exposure work that we're here to do, still have the tough conversations every once in a while, still do everything that the light worker is going to do, all right? So what I'm saying here is this is not to say that now we just become completely okay with shadow and do nothing about it. Of course not. We are here to expose the shadow, and that is part of what we're here to do. And so we are going to do that. We are going to have the tough conversations. We are still going to make people uncomfortable. We are still going to expose things that people don't want to look at right now. That is always going to be a part of what we do. However, we can do so from a place where we are not afraid of the shadow also. Where we can allow people's shadow to come up and to not be afraid of it with them while we process through it. And at the same time, when we're in the presence of someone who's got a shadow that they are not ready to deal with, that it is not time, that they are not ready, they do not want to expose it, they do not want to explore healing, they want to stay in the shadow, where you can be okay with that. Because this is a deep understanding that we must integrate into ourselves as light workers if we're going to be on this planet and not suffer so bad, which is there is a time and a place for integration, and there's a time and a place where it is not time for integration. We need to understand that the pain and the suffering that people are going through is not something we're here to rescue them from. And we are not here, as Gabrielle Bernstein says, to rob people of their bottom. So sometimes there are going to be people in your life who have deep shadow, who have deep trauma, who have deep pain, and it is not time for them to transcend that yet. It is not time for them to heal it yet. They are going to choose to stay in that pain for longer, whether they are aware or not that they are choosing it. They are going to choose to stay in it. And we have to assume that because that is part of reality, right? You know people who you have tried with all of your might to wake up, and they will not. They will not go there. They will not do it. They will not touch it. That is a part of reality. So right now, as light workers, we are rejecting that as a part of reality. We are rejecting the idea that some people are in shadow and they're supposed to be right now. That some people are in pain and they are supposed to be. Because that doesn't feel good to us. We don't want to believe that. And I believe the reason we don't want to believe that is more to do with the fact that we feel hurt and traumatized and victimized by other people's shadow, more than a light working manifesto. All right? I really believe that this trauma that we live with as light workers is that we were hurt by people's shadow. We were hurt and harmed by people's shadow, and so we want to expose it because we don't feel like we can be safe until all the shadow is exposed. We don't feel like we can be okay in this reality until everyone is awake, everyone has exposed their shadow, so that they can't use their shadow as a weapon against us. So this is our big trauma. The light worker's trauma is other people's shadow hurt me, so I have to awaken everyone to their shadow, otherwise I'm not safe. That's our big trigger. And it's true, we have evidence, right? We have evidence that I exposed someone's shadow, they blamed it on me. And I can't make them see. As much as I try and force them to see what they're doing, they're projecting, they're seeing something that's not true. They feel like I'm making them feel bad when it's really not me. I'm just talking about what's going on with them. All of this stuff. And people hate me, and people reject me, and people don't like me, and people are mean to me, and people do all these things because of their shadow. Yeah. That's real. That's true. That happened. You have been hurt by people's shadow. But that's reality. And the second thing is, the other part of reality that we have to accept is we cannot wake someone up who is not ready to wake up. We cannot force someone to face a shadow they're not ready to face, that it's not time for them to face. So what do? The first thing, that heart space meditation. Go into all of those places, those triggers, those parts of yourself that were hurt by other people's shadow, and integrate. Love that part of yourself. Nourish that part of yourself. The one that gets all fired up around someone's shadow, or the one that wants to escape someone's shadow. That is a part of you that needs love and integration, right? That is a part of you that is suffering and is in trauma right now, because it is believing that that pain shouldn't have happened. If that person just wasn't in their shadow, that never would have happened. Well, that person was in their shadow, and it did happen. So we need to integrate. We need to make ourselves feel more and more safe in this reality through loving the aspects of ourselves that went through these painful things and learning the lesson that those painful situations had for us. So that's what integration is. We need to start with loving those parts that get aggressive and that run away. because those are showing us that there are traumatized shadows within us, traumatized parts of ourselves that were hurt by people's shadow. You see? And so we love and nourish those parts of ourselves. We must go in and heal that shadow within. Integrate those parts that were wounded by everyone else's shadow. That is the first and most important thing you will ever do. Notice yourself when you get wound up. Notice yourself when you feel like you got to go shove something down someone's throat, or say the thing, or write the blog post, or whatever. And notice the parts that want to run away and reject and not deal with people. And love them. Bring them into your heart space room. Give them a seat at the table. What do they need from you? Right? Go through the emotional process. Go through the emotional mastery process of integrating those wounded aspects of yourself. That is step one, right? And then step two is that we start to understand the benefit of shadow. And this is something that we really need to allow ourselves to expand into. If we can see the benefit of shadow, and we can literally move ourselves to a place where we are no longer afraid of the shadow, where we can be in a place where people are using their shadow against us, and we can see why and how that's happening, we will understand things better and we will be at peace. Because the bottom line is, the whole world isn't going to wake up anytime soon. And we know this. People are going to have their shadow probably for as long as you live. So if you can't be at peace because other people have shadow, that means you can't be at peace, right? So taking responsibility, that deep level of responsibility, that I'm still here to do my shadow work. I'm not giving up. I'm not doing it, but I'm no longer going to be doing it from a place of fear. And this is this paradox that we're moving towards, right? The paradox that says, I'm not afraid of the shadow. I'm not trying to eradicate the shadow. The shadow isn't wrong and bad. The shadow is exactly what it's supposed to be. We're learning from shadow. We're learning from contrast. We're learning from all of these wounded aspects of self. This is a part of life. And there is a time and a place for shadow to exist. And then there's a time and a place for us to integrate the shadow. So as a light worker, I'm here to plant the seeds. I'm here to be there when the time and the place for the shadow to be exposed. When that comes, that's where I shine. That's what I do. When it's time for that, I'll be there and I'll do it. But when it's not time for that, I'm not trying to force it to be that time. I am then able to be with the shadow and be with the time when the shadow needs to be there and not force the process. And be okay that other people have shadow, and sometimes they blame it on me, and sometimes they think it's my fault that they're in pain, and all of these things are still going to happen. So how can I feel okay inside myself when that's happening? Because it is reality, right? And remembering, the one thing that causes us to suffer is when we reject and deny reality. So another thing, waking up is not about creating an ideal environment. Waking up is about saying the environment is already ideal. It's already what it should be. The painful things, the not painful things, the joyful things, the sad things, the angering things, all of them are supposed to be there. Waking up is not about finding this blissful state where life stops happening. Waking up is about being able to be in life as it actually is, with all of the stuff that it contains, and feeling and perceiving it differently, feeling differently about it. So you can be in the room with someone who's in the depths of their shadow, and it's not time for them to wake up yet. It's not time for them to integrate yet. It's not time for them to heal yet, and you don't feel threatened because you can love yourself deep enough that even if they attack you, you're not afraid of their shadow. You're not judging their shadow as wrong and bad. You are in this new place where you can say, hey, I'm going to just leave the situation, right? There's an empowerment. It doesn't mean you take it, okay? It means you come from a place of love. And that sometimes means you leave the room. That sometimes means you stay and you take it because it doesn't hurt. It's going to be a whole new different thing for you, and you'll know in each situation what you're supposed to do. It's a deeper level of responsibility. There's no answer for how we handle it now. It's you'll know how to handle it. So integrate those wounded aspects and start to accept shadow as part of the reality. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not supposed to go away. It's when integration time is there, you'll be there. And when it's not integration time, it's not because you've done something wrong. It just is. Alright? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave those down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next video.